Hello, welcome back to the Nook. I'm Daniel, and today I will be reviewing this book here, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. So this is the first in a trilogy. There's Little Women, Little Men, and Jo's Boys. So this is a classic. I absolutely love it. Some would say that mainly women would be into it more than men, but I think anyone can read it. It's just a really good story. And it's following a family called the March family. There's the mom that they call Marmee, and there's the dad, Mr. March, who is at war. This is during the 1800s, so I don't know what war that is. I don't know my history much, but it is a war. It could be the Civil War, I think. And it follows these four sisters, the four daughters of Mr. and Mrs. March, which are the oldest is Meg, and then there's Jo, and then Beth, and then Amy. And these are the sisters it follows. And the themes in this book are very heavily revolving around family and the importance of family and just love. And there is romance throughout. It's very good romance, focusing on marriage. And I just think it's a great story. So I could talk about the sisters kind of in general about each one. So the oldest being Meg. Meg is this very beautiful young woman. I think at the beginning of the book, she's maybe 16 or 17. And she cares a lot. She's a little bit vain. She cares a lot about clothing and about looking nice and being pretty and being in society, as women back then kind of were. And then you have Jo. Jo's probably my favorite character of the women. She's this wild firebrand where she loves to write, and she writes kind of what she writes is more, what do you call it? Like it's very exciting. It's romances, but there's murder and witchcraft, and it's very intense. Writes intense stories, kind of adventure stories. Jo likes to write adventure stories that have some sort of twist at the end or whatever, and she loves to write. And she's not very girly. Jo is not a girly girl. Even the fact that she calls herself Jo, it's Josephine. She goes by Jo. So Jo is this girl that's very wild. She loves to write. She's really imaginative. She starts a company with her sisters called the Pickwick Society, because back in the day, Dickens had a book called The Pickwick Papers, and they had this writing group called the Pickwicks. And yeah, so that's Jo. She's very wild. She loves to write. She's not very girly. She likes kind of more manly things. And then you have the child after Jo be Beth. And Beth is very sweet and young, and she plays with her dolls. And Beth is a little bit sickly, and I won't get into some spoilers, but there's some sadness involving Beth. And Beth is very sweet. She loves her sister. She loves Jo. She and Jo have a very special bond. And yeah, and so Beth is probably the sweetest of the bunch. And she's not really looking for any romances or anything. She knows that's not in her future. She's just there to be with her family and to serve in the best way she can in the family. And then you have Amy, and Amy is the youngest. Even from a young age, she is an artist. She draws, she paints, she makes plasters. And Amy is kind of like Beth. She kind of wants to be a refined young woman. And she's got signs of beauty. She doesn't like her nose. There's this famous thing in the movies and in the book where she puts a clothespin on her nose to try and shape it up or whatever. And Amy's a great character. She's great too. She's really into art. And as she grows, she really blossoms as an artist. And so these are the four sisters. And what's so cool about this story is you see them at very young ages. I think at the youngest, Jo is 15 at the beginning. And by the end of the book, Jo is 30. But you have to understand, this is a 777-page book. I mean, it's quite large. And yeah, there's no description on the back, so I can't really read anything about what it's about. But it follows these girls as they go through life. And I guess I can keep it vague by saying some of them get married, some of them don't get married. But there is a strong focus on romance, and yeah, it's kind of they're finding their way in life, finding their way in society, and just living their lives. And they're not a very rich family. They're not exactly poor, but there's a point where they can't even afford Christmas gifts, so they have a Christmas without presents. But there's just a very strong focus on this book of family. And there's sorrow, and there's joy, and there's romance. And there is a character, one of the male characters that shows up, becomes friends with Jo, and that is Laurie, Theodore Lawrence. Everyone calls him Laurie or Teddy. And he's just a really great character. He becomes such strong friends with Jo, and he gets to know all of the sisters. And honestly, I really like Laurie. There's a really good adaptation from the 90s of Little Women. And Laurie is played by a very young Christian Bale. Jo is played by Winona Ryder. And I highly recommend that adaptation. There's one from 2017 I didn't like as much, but the 90s one is really good if you want to see a good movie. I mean, honestly, I can't say too much more about the book. There's some major spoilers for some sad stuff that happens. I don't want to spoil the romances because there are romances with a couple of the sisters. But I will say, right now I'm reading Little Men, which is book 2, and I will be reviewing that on the channel as well. And that is actually a really good book. It's almost as good as Little Women. I think out of the 3, Little Women is my favorite. And after Little Men is Jo's Boys. And yeah, well, another character I didn't mention is Aunt March. She's pretty great. So that's Jo's great aunt. And she's just a great character. She's very sassy, and Jo reads classic books to her, and Amy ends up interacting with her too. She's a great character. She's really great in the movie I mentioned too. So yeah, that's about all I can say about Little Women. If you haven't read it, just please do if you're interested in kind of a really cozy, nice family story. And I will just say, yeah, it's really good. And I think, like, leave a comment if you have read it. If you've read it, what you think of it. If you've watched any of the movies, what you think of the movies. And that's about all I can say. So remember to like and subscribe. And remember, you're always welcome at the Nook. Bye.